Very much, Secretary. Truly a delight to be a part of this webinar because I believe this entire concept that Prime Minister Modi has started is not only unique but is getting better by the passing of each year. And I think there are three elements to this initiative. There is this concept, there is a connect, and there is a context in which the dialogue takes place. The concept truly takes the budget beyond the 1st of February, one-day budget where the focus remains largely on the tax proposals. People are debating the immediate benefits that one can get, and the larger big picture, what truly the budget is all about, is completely lost. In fact, the budget reflects the plans of the government for the coming year and how they will impact the many years to come ahead. And basically, it's a statement of expenditure. It's a statement which shows which direction the country is going to go in, what the taxpayers' money and the country's resources are going to be used for. And therefore, I think these series of 12 webinars are truly empowering the people of India with more information about what the budget really is all about and helping us get very good inputs from the stakeholders of all sorts in terms of how we can implement the budget better. This also helps us connect with the stakeholders in terms of getting feedback from them, helping us disseminate the plans of the government and of the budget, and helps stakeholders also get confidence and a deeper understanding through this connect of what is intended in the budget. And lastly, the context in which this entire budget has been drawn up is better understood by all the stakeholders, I believe, at the end of these engagements. So truly, the Prime Minister has come up with a unique initiative, and I have no doubt in my mind that the usefulness of these webinars is very much appreciated. The feedback that I get from industry and many of the participants of the earlier webinars is phenomenal. Incidentally, the Prime Minister also connected India's past, present, and future very beautifully. The infrastructure going back to thousands of years, how we've been able to in the last few years transform the pace of development of infrastructure, the scale and the speed has been very, very much appreciated across the world. But more importantly, committing such large value of resources of the country to creating infrastructure, to supporting logistics, making logistics more affordable and viable is the central theme, the context in which this budget will help us lay the foundation of India over the next 25 years in the Amrit Kal. Of course, the Kutch experience also shows us that this has been the Prime Minister's vision and his style of working for many, many years. He's always thought for the long term, and he believes in empowerment, not just entitlement. For him, outlays were not important. What was important were the outcomes. We saw that in the development of Kutch. I personally have experienced that at Kevadia too. The Kevadia concept, the project where the Narmada Dam is situated, where he developed the world's tallest statue of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the Iron Man of India. Initially, there was a lot of criticism. Oh, he spent such a large amount of money and time and effort creating a statue. While on the one hand, it truly is empowering. The statue gives you a sense of, deep sense of satisfaction that you're paying back a debt of gratitude to Sardar Patel. It also makes you feel proud as an Indian for your achievements. But it also has helped develop the entire region into a tourism hub. Lakhs and lakhs of people go there today. infrastructure is getting developed in the entire region. And today, it's become a hub of activity. My own sense is Kevadia alone, just like Kutch, will have probably a lakh of crores of economic activity per year going forward. So this is the deep thinking that is behind Prime Minister Modi's focus on infrastructure. And I think that was well understood and reflected in the day's deliberations. I noted very particularly his idea that we must create a mechanism to forecast the needs of various materials that are required for infrastructure development. And the team in our department, working closely with the state governments and the Mines and Minerals Department, will look at this suggestion of the Honorable Prime Minister. I would also like to compliment the organizers, you Secretary DPIIT, all your colleagues in the various ministries and the friends in both the ministries particularly, for really bringing together high quality of participation, both in numbers and in the level of engagement. Very good presentations were made and the summaries were brilliant. You actually captured the debate through the day, and I'm sure going forward we'll be able to actually act on many of the suggestions that have come out. Amongst the many things, I will not delve in all the various issues that were discussed, but clearly, if we are looking for a bright future for India, we are looking at the Amrit Kal, making India a developed nation, we will have to create a foundation or an overlay of infrastructure which is truly world-class, which is affordable, which is sustainable, and which outlasts India's current needs, plans for the future. So I have no doubt in my mind that the various suggestions that came up today, which in a way reflect now that we are moving beyond whole of the government to whole of the nation. With all the states onboarded on PM Gati Shakti, 30 ministries already onboarded, with the participation of stakeholders from the private sector, it clearly shows that now we are looking at whole of the nation, working to a collective plan and with a sense of duty to achieve these noble objectives. One thought that came up, we had the PPP, the public-private partnership, or in fact, the Prime Minister had once said, people-public-private partnership, expanding the scope of PPP in infra development, and even in the 75,000 crores earmarked for critical last-mile connectivity projects, 15,000 crores are for PPP projects. While PPP is an effective mechanism for financing and development of modern infrastructure, in a way it shares risk, it also helps the private sector contribute and get a reasonably good return on their infrastructure investments. The current Gati Shakti planning and the way we are now embarking on last mile connectivity, this will help us de-risk projects because now time and cost overruns can be controlled, land acquisition can be more efficient, administrative risks of the project are reduced because states and center, everybody is on board from day one. Project planning becomes smarter, the Japanese style, who normally spend more time in planning than it takes to execute the project, because they believe good planning is the key to successful implementation. So I think we can now really expand our PPP outlook. Many suggestions about banking, long-term capital availability or long-term loan availability for a longer stretch of time, depending on the duration of the project. All of those are very important suggestions on which I'm sure the government will address various issues. One thought that came to my mind hearing the contractors' problems, I think we'll have to have a deeper engagement with the contractors to understand what are the various suggestions they have. For example, our drafting of contracts needs to be more balanced, more practical, fair, equitable. Similarly, we have to bring quality into every contract. Quality should be the criteria before deciding the winner of the contract, not just L1. Similarly, you talked of arbitration and all of that. I believe we should, as far as possible, provide for the contract itself to mitigate all these differences of opinion. Very often the contracts are skewed in such a way that they lend themselves to litigation and arbitration. Instead of that, let's focus on making the contract itself better. And finally, of course, the time should be the sense of contracts that we make. And lastly, one point that didn't come out today, if we have to meet 110 lakh crores of national infrastructure pipeline, we'll need many more contractors. Our good infrastructure contracting companies are very few. We'll have to see how we can encourage more companies to come into the contracting field and become infrastructure creators. So thank you very much. I think I've stuck to my 13 minutes time. Clearly, technology, digitization, and soft skills, the managerial talent, which was amply reflected in the various outcome documents, will lead the way going forward. My best wishes to all the participants who really contributed to making this webinar a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for a very succinct roundup of the discussions today. And we know that you, under your leadership, are really driving the PM Gati Shakti planning. And all of us infrastructure ministries are forever now looking at more and more usage of this portal. With this, now I would like to request Honorable Minister, Road Transport and Highways, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, to make his concluding remarks. Although I am seeing a couple of hands at this point in time, but I know both the ministers have to leave. So please leave your questions in the chat box. And I do promise that we will revert with the answers.
Madam, my apologies. I couldn't see Gadkari ji on the phone. Namaskar, Gadkari ji. I'm sorry, मैंने शुरुआत में acknowledge नहीं किया आपकी leadership को, but आपका धन्यवाद, आपने जिस प्रकार से इस पूरे initiative को lead किया है. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
सम्मान्य पीयूष गोयल जी, अनुराग जैन, सेक्रेटरी DPIIT, हमारे विभाग के सचिव अलका उपाध्याय, शिपिंग सचिव सुधांशु पंत जी, सभी सम्मान्य अतिथिगण, अधिकारीगण, देवी और सज्जनों, सबसे पहले आप सब लोगों ने आज दिन भर ये जो वेबिनार हुआ है, इसमें जो सुझाव दिए, इसके लिए मैं आप सबके प्रति आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आज सुबह अपने भाषण में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को कैसी हाईएस्ट प्रायोरिटी हमारी सरकार ने दी है, ये बात यथार्थ रूप से आपके सामने रखी है। उनके विजन के अनुसार $5 ट्रिलियन की इकोनॉमी बनाना ये लक्ष्य है और विदाउट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट हो नहीं सकता, और इसलिए उन्होंने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की प्राथमिकता के आधार पर ही करीब 10 लाख करोड़ की बजट प्रोविजन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए की है। मेरा विश्वास है कि निश्चित रूप से वी आर द फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट के साथ वर्ल्ड की इकोनॉमी में अग्रसर बनने में इसमें निश्चित रूप से फायदा होगा। जहां तक सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट की,